Hi folks, it is me again, and yes, the program still isn't working, so unfortunately for the moment you're going to have to listen to me and look at me. Um, I'd like it to be a little bit more constructive, so I can actually pick individual frames and shots. That will come, but at the moment just take down some notes from what I've got to say in this briefing. I think where we are this week, I think your guest editor was actually quite generous. There were some good things, but there were some bad things this week. And what we need to find is that consistency, because last week was very, very good and there was abundance of good stuff. This week, less so. And I like the fact that you've cut the program down, and it is a lot shorter, down to about 15 minutes or so. The problem is, at times it's too short, and I think I frightened you off from actually having a decent length of story. We have to find a middle ground here. Some of them are just too short because you don't have time to explain the story, and maybe you're not sophisticated enough to be able to tell that story in a shorter amount of time. Maybe you'll have to do it a little bit longer. But these were certainly too short because the story gets cut off before there's anything told, and that's not great. Where last week there was an abundance of everything, and it was great, but too much. This week we are struggling. Okay, let's start at the top with the headlines. I mean, you have to say the first grab you see and the first headline is Nick Clegg. He's talking to you. It's not in a scrum. It looks like a clean shot. He has done an interview for you. It is box office. Absolutely fantastic. That's what it's all about. So great get. Well done, Alex, for getting it. I don't know what process you went through to get all the Nick Clegg footage and to get that one-on-one interview, but it's great. However, at the end of that headline, and everyone should have noticed this, or go back and look at it, there's a glitch. There are half a dozen wasted frames that are not meant to be there. And I do not understand how this has gone through a gallery. You record the headlines over and over again. It goes through that gallery and everybody looks at it. And how it has passed, going through it in the gallery, being edited, then being recorded, and then going back to be uploaded to go onto the internet, and still nobody has seen. There is a massive glitch at the end of that headline, and it is the very first headline. And immediately it sets my back on edge because there's a mistake right at the top of the show. And you have to see there is a process of everyone looking at that footage from gallery. It doesn't matter whether you're doing sound, whether you're standing at the back and watching. It is a huge, huge error, and it just looks so messy. And that can set the tone for the rest of the bulletin. So please go back and look at it. If it is not absolutely right, it's something we record, for goodness sake. It's not even a live part of the show. So the fact that it was in there is a huge, huge error. So the massive positive of getting Nick Clegg is completely negated by having a really poor um, error in there on the editing front. Shame. The Slaughterhouse pictures are great. Again, they look really good. Words matched, fine. Um, and the Southampton story on Ebola, great, a really good tease. Um, but the eyeline on that interview, and I'll come back to the later, is completely wrong. It's like me looking up there now, and you're thinking, what's he looking at? And that's where it's wrong. So you need my eyes to be looking at you, level with the interviewer. So when you are interviewing someone, make sure you are on the same level. Okay? Not up here, because then the eyeline goes up with it, and not down there because the eyeline goes down. You need the eyeline to be the same as you, so I'm looking at the interviewer. So you must be at the same height as the person you are interviewing. Then they'll look at the right level. Anyway, I think the actual shot of tape this week is too tight. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to change it around. I think it was too tight. She looked green. Tate, I don't think you had your best week, and I'm going to have to work on your voice. I know we all need voice training, and I go on about it. And when I'm there, I will do it. And I think what I'll do is a YouTube masterclass. I will try and get some of your links, and what I will do is just read them the way they should be read. Just it needs to be more fluid and more emphasis on the right words and not on the wrong words. And there were a lot of stutters, and I think you felt uncomfortable. It looked like, because some of the links were very, very short, you were up against it this week. You're not getting enough help. I'm completely guessing here, I might be wrong, but you got in the studio too late. You were still writing your links very late in the afternoon because some of them are just so short, you've just thrown them away. I can't write them, bang, and then I'm in the studio. And I think it shows. That's my feeling of my interpretation of what I saw on air. Anyway, let's get on with the stories. Alex, these political stories are difficult because they are, sometimes there isn't a story, but you cobble it together because important people are there and you have to make a story out of it. Well, you have made a story out of it, but they are difficult to get spot on. Your cutaways, I think you ran out of cutaways. You so wanted to use a lot of Nick Clegg that in the end you ran out of cutaways. And I think your third one during the interview is so short and so just limited. And it's like, I'm covering the whole, and all I've done is I've used, literally it's about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds most of Nick Clegg. And it just, you need to fill it up. We may not need to see him come back into vision again. Cover the whole of the end of his sot if necessary. That would be fine. But otherwise, it's all cut up too much, and a small cutaway just sticks out like a sore thumb. Xena on the Tory angle, I was disappointed because I think you crash into the first grab because your voiceover goes into the moment where your first interviewee is talking, and on the second one as well. Now that may have slipped in the upload, but I can't think it slipped that much, and you've crashed it. Now, why isn't that recorded again? Is this all turned around on the day? But it's messy. You've got to reduce the number of words so that you're not talking over the sot, because we can't hear both of you at the same time. So that was very disappointing. I like the way, though, you were trying to write words to pictures. So that is, from that point of view, much more promising. But again, it was too short. It was like it was over before it begun. It was like almost an apology of a story. And I think I refer back to the fact that, maybe I frightened you off from last week in telling a story, and you've only told half stories here, or it's only a little bit of a story. So that was disappointing. Right, Hattie and the animal rights story. By this time, it looked like a bit of a Halloween link because you look green all over. Tate. So it's it looked a little bit strange by this stage. Look, Hattie, this is a great start. There's a really good range of pics which you've written very well to. So that's good. Excellent work. You understand the pictures. You understand what you're trying to portray with the words, and they go hand in glove together. So well done. Although part of the voiceover I couldn't hear. Maybe in the compression, I don't know, but the sound quality was not good there. Please, can we stop? I met X in London and he told me this. I know that's what you're going to do. I know you're going to talk to him, and I know he's going to say something. But don't introduce it that way. That's very radio. We don't do it in television. Remember, I've said this before. We don't introduce our grabs like that. You might say, Jenny Smith, leader of XYZ, is not happy with the way animals are being treated. Bang. And then you go into a grab. Something like that. But not, I met in London. Doesn't matter where you met them. So we need to change that. I still think Calamar our graphics aren't quite right for the phono interviews. Some of the words are there, some aren't. There seems to be a huge amount of space on it, and I think I need the picture bigger, and maybe it needs to be dropped back. I don't know. It's just not quite right at the moment. And the other thing, Hattie, you did a piece to camera at the end with a generic background. And clearly you wanted to do something to say something, fine. Didn't quite understand the location, why it was there. So it just looked a little bit odd, out of context at the end. Okay, the news and brief about our gay lecturer at the university. I think you gambled your way through it, Tate. I think that was part of the problem with this, which is quite a strong story. I wonder why we can't. Would he not do an interview? Clearly, he is important to us. He's one of our own. He's like Neil Bryan, or you want to get that interview. You will be able to explain to me the university process of who would and wouldn't talk. Maybe he wasn't allowed to talk. I understand all that, but it's a good story anyway. And we shouldn't be afraid of reporting on our own. When Chris goes and gets a huge literary award for one of his books, then we will obviously write about it as well. Okay. Isaac's story on Ebola. Again, the link is really, really short here. Tate, if that's you, it needs to be longer. You know that. You shouldn't be writing one-line links. I think you could have taken perhaps some of what Isaac said out of his piece and put that in the link. The deadly virus has already killed however many people, which I know is a fact that's in there, but it needed something else. You know that. Isaac, your piece to camera it's a revelation. It's one of the most relaxed pieces to camera and informative pieces to camera I have seen by any student. Look at it, everyone. Go and find it because it's just so natural. And that is a very, very difficult thing to achieve, which you've done in one go. And that is terrific. So well done for that. The only thing I'd say against it is it does slightly repeat itself, or it repeats a bit of an earlier sentence that you've used in your script. So be careful that words that you've recorded previously, that obviously you can't change, like in a piece to camera, you don't then replicate and repeat in your voiceover script. Okay. And when you're interviewing someone, this is your interview, obviously, the eye line is wrong, Isaac. So you were probably standing up, he was sitting down and he's looking up to you. Get down in a chair or squat. I've been in so many uncomfortable positions interviewing people, but ultimately you're at their eye level. And they don't mind that you're sort of bending over and all that if they just talk to you face to face. So you apologize. You just say, look, I'm sorry, this might look, I might look a bit strange being down here, but I need to get the same eye line as you. Or perch him on the edge of the desk so that you can stand and he can perch on the end of the desk. Something like that, just to get the eye line right. And what I was going to say about the interview is, if someone's saying something good and you agree with it, you just nod and encourage them rather than go, yeah, yeah. Because anything you say, if you go, yeah, yeah, it's going to be heard. And we don't want that. We only want to hear from the person you're interviewing. So cut out the yeah, yeah, which you hear during that interview, and just be quiet. Just encourage with, a little nod. And you can do that. And if they say something really good, just look interested. Okay? You use a very good sequence in there. So well done. Him coming to sit down, work on the computer. That's what we like. Sequences. Build stories, build picture stories, and just make things look more natural. So excellent. The fly tipping story. Nadija, again, I thought it was too brief. It's a one-line link, and then I thought the story was too brief. It just didn't have enough in it. Well, there wasn't it wasn't rounded enough as a story. But well done for getting the woman from the Campaign for Rural England. So that is Conservation for Rural England, Campaign for Rural England. Sorry, anyway, CRE. It gives you the other side of the story, and that was very important. But please remember at the end, and this is why I thought it was a piece that sort of lacked a bit of effort, because you did what I hate. You do SOT, the sound on tape, followed by SOQ, the signing off cue, the standard out cue. Please don't put the two of them together, because it's just a lazy piece of journalism. You need to find a way, a gap between SOT and your SOQ, a line, throw the story forward, bring it back to where you started, whatever it might be, please do that. Don't do SOT, SOQ. Right, rats, Toby's story. Again, we've got another one-line link, which just makes me think that you're just rushing through this and you've not had enough help, or you haven't started early enough. There's something, I don't understand why you can't find out about this stuff a lot earlier. If you're not doing a package, then why can these not be written even the day before? Or, get an idea of what is going on early. There shouldn't be any one-line links anymore. I don't think we call someone a local man. I just don't think it's a description we use of anybody, Toby. So we need to describe him. You can say locals. It sort of jutted out. I can't remember exactly in what context it was, but it just jutted out as a little bit strange at the time. And the framing of the aforementioned local man was not right either. I think I said it last week, Toby. You need to slow down your voice. I think your words are just running away with you. So you need to slow down and be a little bit more deliberate so that you can understand what is going on. Okay? And I think you needed to interview some passengers, big time, because look, people hate rats. People are frightened of rats. And if they knew there was a massive infestation of rats, then you would get that reaction when you asked about them. They go, they'd be looking at them and go, no, is it really? Ugh. So you needed some of that. Again, it's time for more in the story. Flavour, vox pops, to build it. If that's one rat that you filmed there, and that's the only one you saw, but you filmed and you used it over it, that's fine. Well done, because usually we have to use archive shots of rats. So if you actually found a rat there and shot it, well done. Okay, and then the fire and rescue and the weather warning stories. Well, the first fire and rescue story was rushed so much it was ridiculous. Again, it looked like you didn't have enough rehearsal time, and then the weather warning was really slow. So it just didn't work. It looked a bit cobbled together. We haven't rehearsed this properly. You can tell me I'm wrong, but that's the way it looked. Okay, on to sport. Mark, let's have a thanks. Bit of interaction between various studios would be good. Now, your first link into what I think is the Basingstoke story is completely wrong. We've got the time wrong again, because when this goes out, we know that Basingstoke have been drawn against the mighty Bristol City in the next round. The most difficult draw they could get is the leaders of League One. And we know that if they beat whoever they were playing, I'm sorry I can't remember, then they will play the most difficult team that is in the competition and away from home. That is the line, not the fact that, they could do this and it was just so convoluted. We need to say it's in the past tense, not setting it up anymore. We don't need that. We need a hard line going, right, this is the story. This is the up-to-date story. After the draw, this is the story. They can say Basingstoke have a huge prize. You can put it like a huge prize for winning their replay against whoever it was, an away tie at Bristol City. A money-spinning tie. That's what it is. Remember that 45% of the ticket receipts go to the away team, which would be massive for Basingstoke. So it's a huge, huge prize for them. The interview at the end was great, and the pacing of the VO was really nice. I like the fact that you've got spaces in that first package, that it's not just rushed, but there's time to let the pictures breathe. That's quite a sophisticated thing to do, and don't feel you've got to fill every single second of a sports voiceover. Ross, on your Winchester FC interview. Hang on. There's one. No, I think the caption comes at. Where was the caption? The caption after the Basingstoke story. Now, Basingstoke should have been on top of that package because it's coming off Basingstoke. So let's say here's confirmation of Basingstoke's draw. They're away at Bristol City, and the other side in our region, who are also in the hat for the second round, are Eastleigh. So it needed to be completely the other way around. Just think of a thread going through, so that, why come off Basingstoke, talk about Eastleigh, and then go back to Basingstoke? It just didn't make sense to me. So yes, sorry, Ross, on your Winchester FC interview. Well done for getting him in the studio. He looked very comfortable, so you've obviously made him look comfortable, and put him at ease. Never put them in a swivel chair. If you put them in a swivel chair, they'll swivel. I'm in a chair that does not move now. Otherwise, I know I can be doing that. When I'm in a studio, I'm never in a swivel chair, because it just gives you license to, bend and, which is exactly what he did. Use his laughter at the beginning. You use that nice shot of him smiling, but let's use words to, reflect that mood. I thought of something like, relaxed and happy, but it hasn't been all smiles for blah, 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 the Winchester, new Winchester manager this season. Something like that. And then you get on with a little tale of the story of Winchester's year and him being given the job. And then we go into him. And then you hear from him, that's great. But then when he's talking about things, why don't we paint some of what he says with pictures of what's gone on with Winchester this year? And when we get a visual promo, I think we need a verbal promo at the end as well, just to back ref it and say, for more on that exclusive interview, go to, rather than just have it crawling across the top, just sell it a little bit more. What I would say again, Drew, is that I think we're too football heavy on what has gone in on the news part of the operation. I don't just want football the whole time. Yes, you can have football as a lead, but that again, that's too simplistic really going in. We need something else to interest and excite people. And finally, Remembrance Day. Again, it's a too short a piece, Megan. And I think you say celebrations. Remembrance Day celebrations? I don't think we celebrate it. I know we mark it, but I don't think we can ever celebrate it. So I think you've got to be careful with your words there. All in all, it was just too short. And it was hardly a package in the end. What I would say, though, is I think you have worked on your voice and have made a very distinctive effort to change your voice. And I really noticed that. And I think there's depth to your voice and a more continuity of trying to get it to roll through a sentence rather than the up and down we might have seen before. So if you've worked on that, I think that's been really good, and that's a real noticeable change from you previously. The features promo is much better. It's a bit sassier. I like it. With a bit of music, it just works. And then, as I said, Tate, I don't think it was your best week. I think you struggled through things. I think you were under pressure. I think you've written links that are too short, and I think it all shows when you get in the studio, because you're stuttering your way through it. So I don't think it was your best, but we need to work on your voice. So overall, some great things like Nick Clegg, massive positive there. I like that. Still some decent stories. I'm very happy with the quality of stories that you are choosing, but this week, not really that much good storytelling. I would say it was quite disappointing. Maybe Isaac's aside, which was very nicely told, and I thought that was good. And your piece to camera was a standout piece of the week. But apart from that, I'd say a little bit disappointing. When I say I want everything shorter, and it should be, that doesn't mean you don't tell the story. Okay, and if it needs to be a little bit longer, then because you haven't told the whole story, then you bargain with the news editor. And well done, editor, for compiling these stories. So that is good. It's a good news agenda. But as I say, there's not enough good storytelling this week. Okay, folks, I hope that's interesting and informative for you. I hope you can learn from it, and I will see you on Monday when we will have our usual news conference. Bye.